Hello, and welcome to our new podcast, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful Testers. In this one-off mini-series, software test leaders and recruiters of software testers come together to share stories and give tips and advice on how to secure a long-term career in this amazing industry. In our first episode, we're going to discuss the 7 habits in a high level and go into detail on the first, becoming a go-to person. So let's kick off.
Hello everyone. My name's Sam Finnegan. I work for Corecom Consulting as a recruitment consultant. For those who know me, you know that I specialise in the testing market. I've got Charlie, who's our head of marketing today, so obviously I'll let them introduce themselves soon, and Binni and Beth, who are essentially test managers from Smoothwall. I'll pass over so they can just have a bit of a brief introduction themselves. So, Beth, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. So I am Beth Marshall. I am Senior Test Lead here at Smoothwall. We are a safety tech company based up in Leeds. I love being a northern tester, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you guys today.
Awesome.
And,
up to you.
Hi guys, I'm Binni Rattanpal. I'm a quality and test manager at Smoothwall alongside Beth, and I've been testing for about 11 years now.
And that's Binni.
So I've been testing 12 years, so between us we've got over 20 years of experience.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. Lovely bit of experience right there. Cheers, everyone. Charlie, would you like to introduce yourself, mate?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Charlie. I'm the head of marketing at Corecom Consulting, and hopefully I can add my 2 pence into this discussion.
Chip in with something, absolutely, mate. Absolutely, every experience is definitely worth sort of talking about. But to be fair, even though I know that I sort of said that I'd be hosting this, I think I will pass it over to Beth and Binni initially, because they are the sort of experts within testing. I don't know what they'll say to that, but they're definitely got some great experience between them. So I will pass it on to you for just with the topics and whatnot. So cool. Beth, would you like to take it away?
Good stuff. So I guess the idea for this podcast, and this is as it stands, I think we're just planning for this to be a one-off or a one-off series of podcasts all about the habits of successful testers. So as I say, between us, me and my boss Binni have got quite a lot of experience for a lot of different companies. I've contracted for a few years, and we've both worked for quite big organisations and things. Yeah. So we really want to talk about and hopefully give some positive advice and tips to people that are looking to make themselves as successful as they can be, and just make sure that they're still around in 5, 10, 15 years. And I think the caveat to that is that, you know, the things we're going to be talking about today aren't necessarily going to bomb-proof you from ever losing your job. You know, we can all acknowledge that we're in a really weird situation right now, and it might get weirder still, it might get worse before it gets better, we don't know. And it's not about apportioning blame to people who do lose their jobs. You know, sometimes that happens and it has very little, if anything, to do with you. But I know from having done interviews for lots and lots of years that sometimes you can bounce back that little bit easier if you practice some of the things we're going to be talking about. We want you to try and be someone that leaves a good impression, a good taste in the mouth, because you can remember what someone's like to work with years and years after you've worked with them, and that's something that I know that I've benefited from as someone that hasn't really needed to, this is going to sound awful, but try that hard when it comes to landing my next job. I've had lots of jobs by recommendation and things, and I know that isn't just because of the technical skills that I've got on my CV. There's often other things, aren't there?
That stick out,
Yeah. So shall we move on to the 7 The 7 things, when we've had a good think collectively about, when we've been chatting, the various things that people have that seem to be those people that stick in your mind, that you would always work with them again. What they have that perhaps other people don't have, and it's often things that you might not realise, but it's all stuff that people can work on. So did we want to have a look?
Do you want to list out the items?
Yeah, do we list all of them?
Should we just intro?
It might be worth briefly just sort of mentioning the 7, and then just sort of tackling them one by one, and then taking it from there. I guess in the order.
Do you want to read it?
I'm happy for you to do it. This is like the mix of this best.
Go on, Beth, I believe in you.
Okay. So when we were having a chat, we think the key 7 things that we think are really good things that people can work on. Number 1, become a go-to person. We're going to talk about what that means and what that looks like. Number 2, investing in being easy to work with. And that's not saying to be exactly a carbon copy of the people that you work with, or trying to be exactly the same to fit in. It's other things that you can do outside of that. Number 3, utilise your network, how you can, for free, make yourself more successful and employable. Number 4, being someone that shares information and is known for sharing information, training and mentoring other people. Number 5, being flexible. So there'll definitely be some stories here about tales that I'm sure we've got to tell about people being flexible and kind of having a bit of give and take with your work. Number 6, this sounds a bit funny, but earn your perks. So we will go into the detail of that. And number 7, sounds a little sycophantic, but bear with us. Helping your boss. So they are the 7 awesome things that we can dive into a bit deeper. So tip number 1, let's have a chat about this one, guys. Becoming a go-to person. So Binni, you're someone that I would definitely say is a go-to person.
I can't tell you why.
What do you think a go-to person is?
So I've got examples of a few people who are go-to people. If you've got really good product knowledge, a lot of the time when you're working on projects and you're trying to figure out what work you need to get done, it's really important to have really good product knowledge. And when you're working on so many different projects and you've delved in and done so many things and you can't remember something from a long time back, it's really good if you've got one person who you can turn to, and you get them, they're like a database almost, you can just query them, and they're like, boom, 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 these are the answers, and you're like, how did you know that? That's a go-to person.
I used to work with a guy who used to call him the Oracle.
Oh, really? Yeah.
He knew everything. Yeah.
Well, I did as well, and that he's my example that I'm using now from, and actually from a previous place, but this guy was like, he just had, I don't know, he even used to say to me, I don't know how I do it myself.
At least he knew.
Just know it. And so that was super helpful, because systems can be quite complex as well. So to be able to know and have that in-depth memory, or, he was probably just really passionate about the product, and that helped him remember a lot about it. And he was just really good at working on that particular product. So if it was anything to do with that product in particular, he was the go-to guy. But there's other things like, for example, we're about to do some process changes within our department. And, before we push that out to the whole of the department, it's good to try and get opinions. So, I've got one person in particular who I'm turning to, who I know is going to be quite critical, and they're going to look at the process and they're going to be like, no, I'm not happy about this, or this is probably not the best, and they're just going to be really thorough. They're going to literally get the spyglass out and look at this whole process and be honest and critical about it, instead of just turning around to me and saying, oh yeah, that looks fine. Do you know, they're actually going to demolish it probably and be like, you need to do this, or they'll give me productive advice or productive feedback. So I've got a go-to person to do that, which I find really important, because I want to be able to get that true, honest opinion back from somebody, rather than just having people around me all saying yes.
Or say nothing.
Yes, or say nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it is important for you to have that quality, to be able to actually point out, you know, you could have people around you who are saying you should be doing something in one particular way. And if you just go along with that and you don't actually be a person who's going to counteract that, you know. But yeah,
I was going to say, I've spoken to a few people before who have had sort of like similar dealings as that. So if this is one of the good qualities that you need, or is helpful to have, what if there's someone who wouldn't want to sort of give their honest opinion because they think it'd be sort of like one-upmanship maybe, or whether it be, oh, I know this product more than you, or whatever it could be. Do you reckon, is there any tips or tricks for getting around that sort of mindset at all? Or
I think it is a skill that's undervalued, especially in a tester, how to criticise without it being taken personally by the other person, because a lot of our job is having to deliver bad news, and you have to get really good at being at just knowing how to do that without offending people. And sometimes it's just down to the culture of the place that you're working. Like, I would never think anybody here would be angry at me for saying something wasn't quite right. But you know, I've been in interviews with people where I've said, what's your main job as a tester? And they've said to tell developers that they're wrong. and my jaw just hit the floor, and I just thought, oh no, that's not your job. So yeah, just making yourself be. I think there's a lot to be said for being approachable as a go-to person, someone that can deliver bad news safely, and be part of a team that. I'm a big advocate for sort of psychological safety, and being able to admit you've made mistakes at work, and that to not define you, and not define how other people see you. And I certainly think someone that makes a mistake and puts their hand up and says, I've tried to fix it like this, or I'm going to need some help with this, is way more valuable than someone that bluffs, tries to kind of hide what they've done, or worse still, points the finger at somebody else. Oh, those people drive me nuts, and they always get found out. It's such a it's such a wrong approach.
I know. I think sometimes people are scared. They're just frightened as well to be able to be open about their failures. I think things are changing now, and attitudes are changing, where I find that, you know, heads within the department are now actually saying, tell us about your failures so that we can learn from those failures, which I don't think was always the culture previously.
No, true.
But it's switching quite a bit now, so it's a big bonus to be able to admit to your failures and say, like, this, my bad, my mistake, you know, I was testing and I missed this because of this, and I was focused on this, so I totally forgot about that. And then, you know, for next time, well, when I come around to this similar scenario, always remember to do X, Y, Z. So it's important to just be open about it so that you can improve yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, coming back to that go-to personality, you know, I've worked with a few key people over the years, and often they're not a head of, they're not a senior person in job title, but they are the one person that if they weren't there, the team would fall apart, because they're that spider in the middle of the web, and they kind of pull the thread here and a thread there, and they know the right people to speak to, and they're always super approachable and helpful. There was a guy at QA called Vince Chapman, and he was just great. Everyone just, his desk was in the middle of everybody, and I think that was just this, how everyone saw him as just being in the middle. And he was so nice and so easy to work with. He would be the last person that they would ever get rid of, I think, because he knows the value of getting people to work collaboratively rather than being a superstar on your own. If you can get the best out of the people around you, that is, for me, that's what a good go-to person, the value that they can bring, isn't just about them, it's about the people around them being that glue. So yeah, I guess, do we have any tips for if someone wants to be a bit more like those people?
One of my biggest tips, I guess, is to be approachable and try and learn about how to feedback that information, because a lot of these go-to people can often, as we said, have to deliver bad information. But if you can deliver it in such a way and make it almost welcoming to hear, the other person's going to appreciate it a lot.
Yeah,
So
it's a really good way. I went on a management course last year. It's a great way of giving feedback, of allowing people to own their own mistakes before you jump in and give your own feedback. So obviously ask them if they want any feedback, and the answer should be yes. And then say, right, if you did it again, what would you do differently? And then just them having that time to look back in and think, actually, what would I do differently before you go in and say anything differently. It gives them sort of ownership of their own mistakes, and a lot of the times those mistakes come out of the fore before you even have to say anything.
Yeah.
And that empowers them to be able to fix it and come up with ideas for how to fix it, and obviously without anything negative going on. So that's a very good way of doing it. And at the same time, if you want to sort of be seen as that go-to person, I'd say sort of be proactive in how you then communicate solutions. So if you feel like people are coming to you with the same problem over and over again, write down or somehow communicate the solution and proactively push that throughout your workspace, so that A, you're not having to solve the same problem over and over again, but B, you're just using something that obviously everyone's finding difficult, and further pushing yourself as that person who knows, or who is the go-to person with that company, because you're always telling people something that they don't necessarily know, or a problem that they've had that they don't necessarily know how to solve. So those would be the two things I'd add to that situation.
Excellent. What do you reckon, Sam?
I'm not too sure. I think again the most important thing from my sort of point of view is again being approachable. So I completely understand having like been a subject matter expert, whatever it might be, or knowing the product inside and out. But if you have all of this knowledge and you're not approachable, then I think it's definitely not worthless. But I just think you have all of that information and you just keep it to yourself. So obviously, if you're going to be the go-to player, you need to be someone that people can go to, that wouldn't be worried about going to. And like if anything was to happen, then
you're totally right. I totally agree with that. And I would say you don't have to have all the answers if you're someone that people see as a go-to person, but you just have to have the sort of not personality, but don't stop until you find the answers. So if someone comes over to your desk from the sales department and says, I don't know, can you set this thing up for me? And you don't instinctively know, you can use your knowledge of knowing the person that does know to solve that for them and make sure it's solved for them. And that makes those connections with other parts of your workspace that you wouldn't otherwise make, and makes you the person that they'll come over to next time.
Yeah, sure.
Even though you didn't solve their issue for them, you made sure it was solved. And learning about other parts of your business as well, and making sure you're like, I remember Binni at our last year's summer party, we were all in the ladies, and everyone that came into the ladies, she knew them, she knew everybody. And I was like, how do you know everyone? Yeah. But like, you just know everybody. But a lot of people don't have that. They don't look up, they keep focused on the minutiae of what they're doing, and they think that's enough. And I just don't think, I think if you've got that sort of ability to reach out to other people, it's a really, really valuable thing. It's intangible, but it's really valuable.
You've made it to the end of the 7 Habits of Highly Successful Testers podcast. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to bringing you more of the 7 Habits soon. Till next time, goodbye.